there comes a moment when silence becomes your sharpest weapon, not because you're weak, not because you're afraid, but because you understand something most people never will. Real strength doesn't need to announce itself. Today, we're talking about those rare individuals who don't yell, don't argue, and don't play games. They stay calm, they stay composed, and suddenly, everyone who underestimated them starts to feel that quiet sting of regret. This isn't about ego, this is about self-respect, about holding your power so firmly that those who cross you realize too late they never should have. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forms of power. People often assume that if you don't respond, you must not know what to say, that you're intimidated, unsure, or incapable. But those who truly understand strength recognize silence for what it is: control. Silence is the moment where you take back your power from those who try to provoke you. When someone disrespects you, they're looking for a reaction: anger, defensiveness, frustration, because the moment you react emotionally, you hand them control. You give them exactly what they wanted: influence over you. Staying silent doesn't mean you don't feel anything. It means you refuse to let anyone else dictate your behavior. You allow the other person to reveal exactly who they are. You give them the space to expose their insecurities, their lack of character, their poor judgment. And while they're busy trying to push your buttons, you become the one quietly observing, gathering information, and choosing your response with precision. You don't rush, you don't crumble, you hold your ground. Silence disrupts people who thrive on control: bullies, manipulators, insecure individuals who need attention to feel powerful. They don't know how to handle someone who refuses to play their game. They push harder, make more mistakes, and eventually show everyone around them what their true intention was from the start. That's the beauty of silence. You let their behavior condemn them. You don't have to lift a finger. Silence also protects your dignity. There is nothing more self-respecting than refusing to argue with someone who has already shown they don't deserve your time. You don't explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. You don't entertain someone who wants to see you lose control. When you stay silent, you communicate a message far more impactful than words could express. You are not important enough to disturb my peace. It's not weakness. It's strategy. Look at the most disciplined professionals: intelligence experts, top negotiators, trained interrogators. Silence is one of their most powerful tools. They listen more than they speak because they know information is power. They understand that when emotions take over, logic disappears. Silence gives you the space to think, to calculate, and to protect yourself from decisions you might regret. When you remain silent, you force others to question themselves. They start replaying their actions, wondering what you're thinking, worrying about the consequences they can't predict. That anxiety becomes its own punishment. People expect a reaction. They expect you to fight for their approval or attention. But when you don't, they have no choice but to sit with their behavior, and that's where regret begins. Silence demands strength. It requires discipline, patience, and emotional intelligence. Not everyone can do it. Some people need to prove they're right, to defend their pride, to throw the last word like a weapon. But true confidence doesn't require an audience. When you know your worth, you don't need to yell it. You don't need confirmation, validation, or applause. You know who you are, and that certainty speaks volumes without making a sound. Silence places responsibility back where it belongs, on the person who crossed the line. It highlights their actions, not your reaction. It allows you to rise above the chaos while they drown in the consequences they created. Silence doesn't mean ignoring disrespect. It means choosing the most powerful response possible, the one that protects your integrity, keeps your power, and forces the other person to confront exactly what they did without you saying a single word. Walking away is one of the boldest moves you can make when someone disrespects you. Not because you're giving up, but because you refuse to participate in what diminishes you. When you walk away, you draw a clear line between what you will and will not allow in your life. It is a silent declaration that your self-respect outweighs any temporary desire to prove yourself to someone who never deserved the privilege of your attention. Walking away is not escape. It is elevation. People who disrespect you often expect you to stay. They assume you'll tolerate their behavior, argue with them, or try to convince them of your worth. They expect you to keep investing, keep explaining, and keep forgiving. Because staying signals that they still matter to you, that they still have power over your emotions. But when you remove yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, you dismantle their control completely. Your absence becomes the consequence they didn't consider. Walking away forces the other person to face themselves. When you disappear, they lose the distraction of blaming you, provoking you, or manipulating you. They are left with a silent mirror reflecting their own behavior, decisions, and treatment of you. That is when regret begins to sink in slowly, deeply. Your silence creates a void they can't fill with excuses. Your distance becomes proof of the role they played in losing you. There is a quiet power in choosing yourself. It's not always easy. You might care deeply. You might want to fix the situation or be understood. But walking away means recognizing that someone's inability to value you is not your responsibility to correct. You no longer fight to be seen or heard by someone who benefits from ignoring your voice. You free yourself from the cycle of proving, pleading, or waiting for change that will never come. You choose peace over chaos, dignity over desperation. The moment you walk away, your energy shifts. Your focus returns to your own growth, your goals, your happiness. You start investing time where it is appreciated and effort where it turns into something meaningful. Growth is the greatest revenge against those who tried to break you. While you evolve, they remain stuck in the same patterns, realizing too late that losing you was the turning point they never saw coming. You become the success story they regret walking away from or taking for granted. Walking away communicates strength because it shows you don't need anyone to validate your worth. Some people depend on keeping you small, insecure, and uncertain so they can feel superior. When you leave, you remove their source of power. You protect your future from being shaped by someone else's limitations, and that kind of freedom is priceless. Not everyone will understand your silence. Some will call you cold. Some will accuse you of running away. But that judgment usually comes from people who fear losing control themselves. It is easier for others to criticize your departure than to admit they caused it. You don't owe anyone permission or explanation for protecting your peace. Walking away is an act of confidence. It says, I know my value. I refuse to settle. And if you can't rise to the level of what I deserve, then you don't get access to me. Nothing haunts a person more than losing access to someone who brought real value into their life. Because when you walk away, you take every benefit you once offered with you: loyalty, support, kindness, intelligence, love. And the moment they can't reach you anymore, they finally understand what they lost. Self-respect is not something you announce. It's something you live, and one of the strongest responses to disrespect is refusing to engage with it in the first place. When someone crosses a boundary, mistreats you, or tries to make you feel small, your reaction becomes a reflection of how you see yourself. If you fight for their approval, argue for their understanding, or beg them to treat you better, you reinforce the idea that they have the authority to validate you. But when you hold firm, when you respond with calm certainty instead of chaos, you show that your worth was never up for negotiation. Self-respect isn't loud or dramatic. It's steady. It's the quiet ability to walk through the world knowing exactly who you are. People who know their value don't need to shout it or defend it. They don't need to convince anyone. They choose their response intentionally, not emotionally. When someone disrespects you, reacting explosively gives them power. Staying composed reminds them that they never had it. Often the biggest mistake people make is believing disrespect demands a reaction. But the truth is, your silence and composed presence often say more than any argument could. It sends the message, your behavior doesn't affect my identity. When you operate from self-respect, you don't match someone's disrespect with disrespect. You rise above it. You refuse to be dragged down to their level. You lead with discipline and integrity even when others don't. The more you respect yourself, the less tolerance you have for those who don't. You don't make excuses for someone's bad behavior. You don't allow repeated access to those who undervalue you. You don't wait around hoping they'll magically treat you better. You understand that every time you allow mistreatment, you teach others what is acceptable. Self-respect is a boundary, and boundaries protect you from becoming someone you don't want to be. People will try to test you. They will push to see how far they can go, how much they can take, how deeply they can wound you, not always out of malice, but often because they want to see whether you will choose yourself or them. And when you choose yourself, when you stand firm in your standards, it creates a shift. They realize that you are not like everyone else who tolerated what they shouldn't have. They realize that you operate from a level of strength they underestimated. The most powerful individuals are not those who dominate others, but those who refuse to let others dominate them. When you hold your self-respect, you show that you are responsible for your own emotions and behavior. You don't let disrespect turn you into a version of yourself you won't recognize later. You stay grounded, you stay clear, you stay aligned with who you want to be. Self-respect also controls access. Not everyone deserves your time, energy, or loyalty. Some people must lose the privilege of being part of your life, not because you hate them, but because you love yourself. Removing access isn't revenge. It's self-protection. It's understanding that your peace, sanity, and confidence matter more than maintaining a connection with someone who diminishes you. When you honor yourself, others learn how to honor you. And if they don't, they simply don't stay. You cannot control how someone treats you, but you can control what you allow. And every silent, composed decision you make in the face of disrespect reinforces one powerful truth. Self-respect is the response. Elevating your standards means raising the price of admission into your life. It means not everyone gets the same access they once had. People who disrespect you only continue because you leave the door open for them. You allow them to stay. You tolerate their behavior. You excuse their actions. But the moment you elevate your standards, everything changes. Your silence becomes a gate. Your boundaries become security, and those who once felt entitled to your attention start realizing just how limited their access truly is. When someone disrespects you, the most powerful response is not to argue, explain, or beg them to see your worth. The most powerful response is to upgrade your standards so much that they no longer qualify to be part of your world. You stop meeting them where they are and start staying where you belong. You stop lowering yourself to keep someone comfortable. You stop making space for those who fail to protect the space they are given. People notice when the access changes. They notice when your energy becomes selective, when your time becomes guarded, when your availability becomes earned, not assumed. It forces them to confront a truth they were avoiding. Your presence was a privilege they misused, a privilege they thought would never end, and once they realized they lost that access, regret hits harder than any confrontation ever could. Elevating your standards is about switching the focus from them to you. Instead of asking, "Why would they treat me this way?" you start asking, "Why did I allow it this long?" That shift turns your pain into power. You stop trying to change people who refuse to grow, and you start removing yourself from anything that tries to shrink you. You rise, and those who can't rise with you get left behind. When you elevate your standards, you attract a new quality of people into your life, people who understand accountability, people who communicate with respect, people who see your value without needing to be reminded. You realize that what you were asking for, the bare minimum, is what others are willing to give without question. Respect becomes the baseline, not a request. There will always be individuals who want close access to your benefits while offering you the worst version of themselves. They want your loyalty but give you inconsistency. They want your support but refuse to show up for you. They want your understanding but ignore your boundaries. When you elevate your standards, you break that pattern. You refuse to accept less than what you give. You stop pouring into people who poke holes in your cup. Some may call you selfish, some may accuse you of changing, and they're right, you are changing, you are evolving, you are refusing to stay in rooms where you are disrespected. People who benefited from your low standards will always dislike your high ones. Their discomfort is proof that your transformation is working. Removing access is not punishment, it's a message: if you can't respect me, you cannot reach me. No arguments, no dramatic exits, just distance. Just silence, just a new standard that no longer allows entry to those who once took your kindness for weakness. The higher you set your standards, the fewer people will meet them. But the ones who do those are the people who deserve to stay. Success is the type of revenge that doesn't require you to seek payback, prove a point, or lower yourself to match negativity. It's the ultimate silent move. When someone disrespects you, they expect you to crumble or lose direction. They expect the pain they caused to break your focus, but the person who turns that pain into fuel becomes unstoppable. Your success transforms their disrespect into a memory they learn to regret, because now they have to watch you rise without them. Every time someone doubts you, dismisses you, or tries to make you feel small, they give you an opportunity to demonstrate just how wrong they are. You don't have to say a word. You simply continue improving, growing, building, and achieving. You let your results speak in all the moments where your voice would have been ignored. Disrespect can either hurt you or motivate you depending on how you respond. And choosing growth is the response that leaves no room for argument. The best part about success is that it turns the tables without confrontation. You go from being underestimated to being admired or envied. People notice the transformation. They start remembering the times they overlooked you. They replay the moments they failed to treat you with respect. Suddenly, the very people who once questioned your value now want to be associated with you, and that shift burns far deeper than any insult ever could. Success forces accountability without you saying anything. It highlights people's choices. They see what they could have supported but chose to tear down. They see what they could have stood beside but walked away from. And while they are stuck with regret, you are busy moving forward. Their regrets weigh them down while your ambition elevates you. That is what makes success the loudest revenge. It teaches without anger, it punishes without action, and it heals without permission. When you invest in your growth instead of proving yourself to people who mistreat you, you step into your power. You stop letting other people's opinions define you. You stop chasing approval and start chasing excellence. Your life becomes evidence of your strength. The ones who tried to break you become the reason you are stronger. The ones who tried to silence you become the reason your voice matters even more. You don't become successful in spite of them. You become successful because you refuse to let them stop you. Focusing on your future means you no longer waste energy trying to correct disrespectful people. That energy gets redirected toward purpose and progress. You improve your skills, your environment, your mindset. You surround yourself with people who see your worth without questioning it. You create a life so fulfilling that you no longer care who doubted you, because their doubt no longer affects your destiny. The sweetest part of success is when they realize they can't reach you anymore. They lost the chance to be part of the journey. They don't get access to the upgraded version of you. They don't get to benefit from what you've become. They are left watching from a distance, wishing they hadn't underestimated you when they had the chance. Your growth exposes their judgment. Success is not about showing off. It's about outgrowing. It's about becoming so focused on your evolution that disrespect becomes irrelevant. You rise so high that their opinions can't touch you. And one day, the same people who tried to tear you down are forced to look up in order to see you.